We're speaking with Kathy Johnson of Concert Partners and talking about PR today. So Kathy, how do you get on the front page of the Wall Street Journal or the New York Times?
That's the big question, isn't it?
Yes.
Well, I tell you, in the cases that we have been there, it's all about the relationship, first of all. You have to have that trusted relationship. And the way you have that trusted relationship is that you keep everything short, sweet. You don't waste their time. You don't want to waste anybody's time. But the thing to think about for major newspapers like that is they're looking for a theme. They're not looking for a free feature list. They're not looking for a product launch. They're thinking about what is the overall impact on business about your launch. So you're going to have to talk about who are your competitors, introduce the journalist to your consumers, introduce the journalist to your VCs. Of course, you have to talk to them yourself so that they get a complete, well-rounded picture. And then you have to leave it in their hands to sort it out. But it's of course the epitome, and it's the one thing that Tim Draper always says to me: I don't care about any of this PR stuff. I just want to be on the front page of the New York Times. So it's always on the top of our mind.
And how do you even make that first phone call? How do you get a list of people to contact?
Oh, you know what? You can go to the New York Times website. Everybody blogs now. And so there's a little bio on every single one of the journalists with their area of interest, which is very important, and their email address. So what I would recommend you do is you go and you pick one of the journalists that fits within your category, read every single article this person has written in the last 6 months. You know exactly what their beat is. And then customize your email to them. Email them, don't call them. Email them and say, this is why it should be interesting. Just little bullet point sound bites. Maybe you want to throw in, these are the tags that I think are important. Here are the themes. Tell them your competitors. Be open about it. And then hopefully they'll call you back. And if they don't pester them.
So talk a little bit about the social media tools out there, Facebook, Twitter, etc., MySpace. How should PR be leveraging some of these social networks?
Right. Well, you know, after you've written your press release, actually, I should say while you're writing your press release, you should also be thinking about all of these different other mechanisms. So creating a viral video, posting it on YouTube, posting it on your website, making sure that your website resonates with what you're saying in your press release, creating a group in Facebook, inviting all of your friends to participate if it's a specific Facebook app, putting it onto MySpace, Twittering about it. I mean, I think one of the classic examples is Loic Lemour of Seismic, who is transparently creating his company via his own site, Seismic, but also via Twitter and various other forms of communication so that we can all see what he's doing every day. So his mantra is transparency versus embargoes and NDAs and, you know, sort of stealth launches. And I think there's something to learn in that because it's really showing this new generation of entrepreneurs that we don't have to be paranoid about what we're creating. We should be proud of what we're doing and have the confidence that what we're doing is differentiated enough that we can sort of go out there, talk about it, and not be afraid that it's going to be sort of copied within 2 minutes. Because if it will be, it's not a solid business to begin with.
That's right. So talk about pitching. You mentioned pitching is important. What are the tips and tricks in pitching? Because I know I've seen it done across the gamut. What works in your opinion?
Going back to the hot or not, hot is bite size, not is super size. So every time we meet with an entrepreneur, it's actually kind of cute because he sits down, she sits down, and says, well, my product can do, you know, it's a Facebook app with a MySpace twist, with an RSS feed, with a blah-de-blah-de-blah, and it's great, you know, and it's important to know all these things, but by the time you're finished, the journalist is probably going to have a snooze. So it's really about taking what is the most important, salient fact, you know, why should I care, and making that into a soundbite, and saving the rest for later. If you think about Apple, you know, we don't go out and buy MP3 players. We wanted to buy an iPod because we were part of the iPod community and we knew how it would make us feel and we were proud to have that creative differentiation. They didn't tell us that it had a port for this or an input for that or you know, formats for this and that. That's
not about the features.
Exactly. So that's the other thing. So it's sound bites versus super size, bite size. Tell me what your product can do for me, not what your product can do. Again, that's really important. If you read every article that's in the newspaper today, whether it's in the technology section or the lifestyle section, think about the way that the journalist is writing that. It always starts out with a sort of slice of life. Joe was walking down the street and he got a phone call and he looked at his phone and up came this picture of his girlfriend, and she was in, this hot new restaurant, and whatever. So there's a whole story that I can sit as a reader and think, I can relate to that. I could see myself doing the same thing. Then we get into what the product does.
Right.
So it's always that sort of emotional connection. What is it going to do for me?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So, as we wrap up this show, a question for you. I hear there are free sites for press release distribution.
Absolutely.
Will you share those with us?
Free PR is a good thing.
Okay.
Exactly. So what we always do is we upload our press releases to these various sites that are free, and they're in the U.S. and the U.K. because, it's not the U.S. wide web. It's the World Wide Web. So, might as well get it out there.
Think global, entrepreneurs. Think global.
Exactly.
All right.
Don't stop at the U.S.
That's right.
And if you go to my website, or to our website, I should say, to the blog, I've listed out all of the sites that we use in the U.S. and the U.K. that you can upload your press release so that you can get more distribution. Now, press release is not going to guarantee that you'll be on the front page of anything. I can tell you that, just to set expectations.
I'm so disappointed to hear that.
I know. If it was all free, it would be a much better place.
Yes.
But it's always good to get your message out to as many people as you can.
Okay. And Kathy, give us the URL for your website.
www.consortpartners.com.
Okay, www.consortpartners.com, and it will also be linked to our blog post, so you can get it that way as well. Okay, any failure points you want to share with us before we wrap up? Any amazing stories of failure? What doesn't work?
I don't know if it was a failure, but I had a funny experience recently with an entrepreneur, and he was launching his company. And he's a comedian by trade, and he launched a company called Independent Comedy Network. And it was quite funny because he launched the site before the press release went out. And so the site was live, which means it's out in the public domain. So some journalists came along and saw it. They had the press release under embargo. They saw it and they said, hey, maybe we got the release date wrong, maybe it's today. So people started blogging about it.
Oh, dear.
So the company launched over a 2-day period instead of a 1-day period. But what I thought was classic was that the entrepreneur coined the frame premature elonulation. So that one stuck in my mind. I thought that was a good story.
It's a male entrepreneur, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know what you'd call it for a woman. I guess women wouldn't do that, but
of course not. That's a wonderful story. Thank you for sharing.
Sure.
We've been speaking with Kathy Johnson of Consort Partners. I'm your host, Rena Jadev. Thank you, and keep winning.